Hi there, welcome to the Marten's car story. We're still reading The Mystery of the Hidden Gold. We're on chapter 7, Motive and Opportunity. Scott, Jack and Emily flopped down in Emily's room on the top floor of the lighthouse in a miserable silence. Drift padded from one to the other, licking their knees to try and cheer them up. Jack stared at a poster from the Agent Diamond film attached to the curved wall. Maya Diamond, aka their friend, the actress Savannah Shaw, was gazing out across a nighttime cityscape, about to abseil down the side of a skyscraper. I bet Maya Diamond would never lose a treasure map, he thought crossly, especially one that her friend had so brilliantly found in the first place. Well, this is an epic fail, he grumbled. Thanks for pointing it out, Einstein. Scott's voice was spiked with sarcasm. We might not have noticed without your searing insight. All right, Jack snapped. I was really looking forward to finding the gold, and I suppose my private plane's gone right out the window now. Oh, boo-hoo, Scott mocked. Emily couldn't bear it any longer. Will you two just shut up? She yelled, jumping up from her bed and standing in the middle of her room, her pointed chin jutting out and her clenched fists planted on her hips. Scott and Jack stared. They'd never seen Emily totally lose her temper before. Well, excuse me for breathing, Jack shouted. He leapt up and stood nose to nose with Emily. It's your fault anyway. You're the one who left the map lying around. If this turns into a fight, Scott thought, I'd have to put my money on Emily. True, she was half the size of Jack, but she was as tough as a terrier, and that look in her eye was pure red Miss Fury. It was almost worth leaving them to it, just to see her annoying little brother being pulverised by a girl, but then he noticed Drift. The poor little guy was cowering behind the bed with his ears quivering, terrified by the prospect of Emily and Jack flatting each other. Scott stepped between them and made a T with his hands. Okay, time out. This isn't getting us anywhere. Emily and Jack glowered at each other. For a moment, Scott thought they were both going to turn on him instead. The map has obviously been stolen, he said in a super calm voice police negotiators use to talk to armed lunatics. We just need to figure out who knew about the map and who could have taken it. Come on, Em. This is basic stuff. Motive and opportunity. We've got an investigation to work on. Just not the same one we started with. He handed Emily the notebook and her pen, holding them at arm's length as if she might bite his hand off. Right. Make a new heading. Operation Map Thief. Slowly, Emily unclenched her fist. She sat down and smiled weakly. Like a firework, her rage had fizzled out as fast as it had flared up. She didn't usually go in for being a drama queen. She left that to Mum and her artistic temperament. And Scott was right. They had to find out who had stolen the map, and they had to work fast, otherwise the thief could find the gold first. She took the notebook and pen and sat down. Okay, who are our suspects? All the guests for a start, Scott said, breathing a sigh of relief. Any one of them in the lounge could have heard us talking about the map when we were in the dining room. Emily wrote a list of suspects in her notebook and underlined it. Mr. Tanaka's my prime suspect. He almost certainly some kind of spy. Or it could be those Hartley twins, Jack said, his clash with Emily already forgotten. They're little monsters. I bet they pinched the map for a laugh. Yes, I wouldn't put it past them, Emily agreed. They were winding Drift up this morning, teasing him with bacon rinds. And then there's Simon Fox, Jack said, although he seemed like a genuine kind of guy. No, it can't have been Simon, Scott put in. He wasn't even there. Remember how Mr. Wild was fretting about Simon being out in the storm? By the time he came back, we put the map away. Jack grinned. How could we forget? That box of chocolates was awesome. Emily chewed her pen. The only other time we've talked about the map in public was when we told old Bob about it at Dottie's. We can rule out old Bob, though. I trust him with my life. And I'm sure Dottie wasn't earwigging. She was just too busy doing her own personal Beyonce karaoke routine. Which just leaves Mrs. Loveday, Jack said. I bet it was her. Emily smiled. In Jack's book, Mrs. Loveday was probably responsible for global warming and a world poverty as well as the theft of the map. I'm sure Mrs. Loveday hadn't been in the lighthouse since yesterday. She could have used black magic, Jack grumbled. I'm sure she's a witch. Wherever we go, she magically pops out of the woodwork, ready to swoop on me for doing something wrong. She's worse than a teacher. Emily laughed. Let's focus on what our main suspects are. Ruling out Mrs. Loveday and some kind of remote control witchcraft for the moment. That means Mr. Tanaka and the Hartleys. Drift and I will tail Mr. T, and you take the Hartleys. Jack groaned, following a couple of 6-year-olds around all day, splashing in the paddling pool, making sand castles, going on the baby swings. Not exactly going to be a thriller minute, is it? It's not meant to be fun, Scott said. It's surveillance operation. Emily nodded seriously. Until we find the map, we stick to the suspects like superglue. Jack grinned. Okay, I'm in. Just call me Mr. Sticky. No one is getting their hands on that gold and cheating me out of my private plane. Next morning, Jack was awoken by Scott's mobile phone playing Kaiser Chiefs track on the other side of the small sloped roofed bedroom they shared in the stone cottage. Scott pulled the blankets over his head and grunted, so Jack reached groggily for the phone and peered at the screen. It was a text from Emily. Hartley family movement now confirmed. Planet Adventure, hiring bikes from Castle Key Cabin, leaving T+10. Planet Adventure? Wasn't that the brand new theme park that had just opened out at Crackerstow? Jack had been longing to go there ever since he'd seen it advertised in the paper. They had this fantastic ride called the Obliterator and a massive house of horrors. Maybe stalking the Hartley crew wasn't going to be so bad after all. He leapt out of bed and crash-landed on top of Scott. We're going to Planet Adventure. Oof, Scott groaned. It's our instructions from the spy master. The Hartleys are on the move. Scott grunted. What does T+10 mean? Jack asked. 10 minutes from now. Why? That's when they're setting off, which means we have to scramble. And join us again when they are at trouble in Planet Adventure, Chapter 8.